we're going to talk about a light tackle tarpon setup. This is the setup that I prefer to use with our lighter pro tails. It's excellent for the 5.5 inch, 4 1/4, the 3.5. It's a rod that's going to have enough backbone to land fish over 100 pounds, but be light enough to be able to cast those lighter presentations and fish them effortlessly all day long. So in this case, I've got a Diawa Saltist. It's the 4,000 size, and we're pairing that on the Sewell Tenax, which is a 7-foot medium heavy spinning rod. It's designed for 3/4 to 3 ounce weight, and I've got the reel spooled up with 30-pound braid. Now that lighter braid is going to allow me to have long casting distance with those lighter lures. This is my preferred setup for open water scenarios like fishing the flats, out on the beach, or areas where there's not a lot of structure. You're going to use a little bit less amount of drag so you can let those fish run out, and it's a very lightweight, comfortable outfit to use with those smaller baits. Now this lighter weight tarpon outfit is one of my favorites for starting while I'm out on the beach. It's nice and comfortable, it's light enough weight that you can fish it all day, and it's got a soft enough tip in it that you can really get a lot of distance when you're not using a very heavy bait. This rod's ideal for that open water. When I go to structure in that, we're going to use a heavier outfit, which I'll showcase here in a moment. Some comparable brands with this would be the Shimano Twinpower in a 6,000 size would be nice. They've got the Sustain or the Stella kind of in that 6,000 range as well. The 5,000 can be a little bit small for the adult fish, but that 6,000 or the Daiwa 4,000 to 4,500 size is perfect for fishing that 30-pound braid, a medium heavy outfit, and fishing those baits under 2 ounces. So when you're targeting very large tarpon or fishing for tarpon around heavy structure and heavy current, you're going to want a stouter outfit. In that case, I like to beef up to a 10,000 size reel. In this case, we've got the Shimano Twinpower 10,000 with 65-pound braid. I'll go as light as 50-pound braid. 65-pound is nice for fishing around structure without reducing your casting distance too much. You're not going to need to go up to 80 or 100-pound test. It's just total overkill for tarpon fishing, and it's significantly going to reduce the casting distance you can get with your baits. The rod I have here is the Sewell custom Hogy Swimbait rod. It is an 8-foot extra heavy action spinning outfit that's ideal for casting 1 to 5 ounces. I'll fish it through the whole spectrum of pro tail paddles, and it still has a light enough tip that I can fish the lightly weighted tandem rig Hogy and also the unweighted 10-inch originals. It's a great all-around outfit. If I had to choose one do-all, I would go with the heavier outfit because it's going to give me that beefiness and extra strength for fighting fish around heavy structure, but I'm still going to be comfortable fishing it all day out in open water on the beach. Both rods will double duty if you want to impart live bait practices as well. They can both cast baits as light as small crabs and threadfin, and they are ideal for targeting medium to large and very large adult fish. Now these heavier rods are best suited when you're using 1.5 ounces to 3 ounces. They can really cast a long distance, and if you've got fish breaking off far off from you and you can't really get close enough and you want to use a heavier weight like off the beach or in a inlet or fast moving pass, these presentations is perfect for doing that. You're going to have all the backbone to hold on to those large fish, and you're going to have that casting range that's ideal when those fish are holding off a ways from you. Now for the terminal rigging on these rods, I'm going to use the same sequence of knots for both, and I personally prefer to double my braid using a spider hitch. Another similar knot would be the Bimini twist. The spider hitch does not have as high of a breaking strength, but it's more than adequate for tarpon fishing. What that's going to do is create a line double right up here, similar to how a Bimini twist would. It's doubling our braid. That doubling is going to provide extra cushioning for your knot that's going to your fluorocarbon leader. That's going to reduce the chances of your braid cutting through the knot like it may happen with a uni or Albright knot. So to join these two knots together, I'm going to use a Bristol knot. I'm going to go from my spider hitch and my mainline braid to my fluorocarbon with that Bristol knot. I'll use about 8 turns, and then I normally like to choose a leader length that goes from my rod tip to the first guide here or down here to the line guide. That's going to allow me to do a long lob cast, have a long leader with the knot situated outside the tip. The Bristol knot, it's going to form a little bit bulkier presentation, and you're not going to want to reel it inside the knot. If you like to try different knots with low profile, the FG knot is very popular, very strong. I personally tie this sequence. I've done it for a number of years, and I've had perfect success with it. Now, depending on the lure that I'm going to be throwing, I'm either tying an offshore loop knot, which is what I'll generally use with any soft bait presentation, including the Pro Tails, unweighted originals, and the tandem rig. And when I go over to the new plug series, I'd like to use a rigid knot like the San Diego Jam, which provides a rigid connection, which allows you to impart all the action from your rod tip into those plugs. Let's go ahead and take a close-up about tying this sequence of knots. So when tying the spider hitch, we're going to double our braid, give it about 20 inches. We're going to wrap that series of loops around our thumb and pointer finger, coming up, moisten, and go underneath our series of loops here. Then you'll carefully want to open up the knot here. You don't want to go quickly, otherwise you're going to wind up with a mess. And you'll just gently pull, and these loops are going to unfold as they go. You don't want to go fast here. And then as we get it, I like to tighten out my lines a little bit and get them to loop in. Slowly work them. And pull tight. Now, to perform the next knot in our sequence, which is the Bristol knot, we have our completed spider hitch with the length of about 16 inches. It can be as short as 8 inches. You don't really want it much longer than this. It's not necessary. It's going to be key to have tension on your line. I have the rod in a rod holder, which is what I find easiest, and have the bail closed. So you have tension on the line, which is going to assist you in performing this loop sequence. You're going to grab your leader, which right here I have 50-pound fluoro. I hold my finger inside the loop of the spider hitch. I'll get about an 8-inch portion and begin wrapping around both outside legs of the spider hitch. Now with 50-pound braid, I prefer to do about 8 turns up and 2 turns down. 1, 2. You'll see this sequence here, which we've basically wrapped the line up the spider hitch and then a couple to seat it going back down towards the end of our loop. And what you'll look at is, take your finger out of here, you'll see that the fluorocarbon is exiting through the hole. You're going to want to follow your tag end the same direction that your leader is coming in from. And you'll have a knot that looks similar to this. At this stage, it's important to moisten to reduce the friction, and we're going to hold on to both legs, which means I'm holding the main portion of the leader, the tag end, and both legs of the spider hitch. We're going to begin pulling until it starts to tighten up. We'll notice the line starting to wrap along itself. Moisten again. This is where I like to take a turn on my hands, turn on my hand here, and I'm leaving the tag end of the leader exposed. Now what you'll see here is the completed Bristol knot. It's a very solid knot. It's going to have a high braking strength, and it's fast to tie, especially when you're in low light conditions. Now, to complete our knot sequence, with this lightly weighted soft bait, we're going to want to use a loop knot. So what I do is begin with the tag end of my fluorocarbon leader, and I'm going to use an overhand loop with about 6 to 7 inches of tag end right there. We'll take the tag, put it through the eye of the hook, and then we're going to come up with that tag end through the overhand loop that we made. At this point, we are going to size the loop, which means we're going to slide down our overhand loop to about the desired size of loop we want here. This is the loop that is going to wind up being the connection for our bait. At this point, just like with the uni or cinch knot, you're going to wrap that tag end up the main line. With 50-pound fluoro, I like about 6 wraps. And we're going to terminate by going back through our overhand loop. We're not going through the loop in front of our lure, but the overhand loop that we've made at the beginning of the knot. Fish it through, moisten. Now you can use your teeth there, carefully, or you can put the hook into a set of pliers and pull it that way as well. Now with this loop knot, I'll leave a little bit of a tag on it of about 1/4 inch. And what that is a nice free swinging presentation. We've got a small 3/8 inch long loop. It's not too big. You don't want to have it super long because it'll get caught up in the hooks and cause a lot of trouble later on. So about 1/2 to 3/8 of an inch is a perfect size for the loop. It's going to allow all that free swinging motion of the bait, and you're going to have a perfect presentation every time.